Hi and welcome back. My name is Willem Morving and I'm working as a technical artist here at Epic Games. In this tutorial I will show you how the interaction between the website and the pixel streaming application works. I will mainly be showing you the basics and try to avoid to get too much into how HTML, CSS, JavaScripting and JSON scripting works. So let's get started. The easiest way of starting to design and create your own pixel streaming website is by adding the already existing custom built website in the pixel streaming example project. Now you can find it under the folder web interface under the project folder. So what you can do is actually just copy this and put it in the signaling server folder, which should be in Windows No Editor, Engine, Source, Programs, Pixel Streaming, Web Servers, and Signaling Web Server. Now just paste it in here and rename it into custom underscore HTML. Now with this running in here, or with this in this folder here, you can see that we're already running the web server here and running the browser up in here. So what we can do is actually find this HTML file here, and you can share this instead of just sharing your IP. You can share this after a forward slash and pixel demo HTML, which it is in this case. And you'll see that it looks something like this. Now what this does is basically just change characters depending on which buttons you press, change the skins of the character, and environment and time of day. So you can play around with this if you have any knowledge in HTML, CSS, or JavaScripting, because I will mainly just go through the basics and show you how this website works in general. Now it's also worth mentioning that if you're not working with the Pixel streaming example project, you can actually find the signaling web server folder as well as the custom HTML folder in the Unreal Engine folder. So if you have Unreal Engine installed on your computer, you can just go under the version. Doesn't really matter which one, but I'm working with 4.25 now, so I go under that. Engine, Source, Programs, Pixel Streaming, Web Servers, and Signaling Web Server. And you can see that you have the Signaling Web Server folder here that is identical to the one you have if you package the application using the Pixel Streaming plugin. And you can also find the custom HTML folder here already. Now if I start this up running run AWS like we did before and let it load for a while, like so, then you can just enter your IP into a browser and then play it. Now you'll also be able to find the pixel demo.htm here as well. Like so. Now if you would like, there's also a way to share your website directly or redirect your website without having to use the /pixeldemo.htm as a sharing link. You can do so by finding in your signaling web server folder, you can find a config.json file. If you open this up with Notepad, you'll notice that there's a value or a variable called homepage file. And this is directed to player.htm file, which is this one here right here. So if we were to just remove this, it's only the player. So what we want is to use this link, but to be directed directly to the pixeldemo.htm file. You can easily do so by just changing this value to custom underscore HTML forward slash and the HTML file here, which is called pixeldemo.htm. If you save this file and rerun the run AWS return file, you just have to close this down first. Make it load for a while. You will now notice that if you just reload this website here, that is only the IP, you are directly directed to the website instead, which is quite useful. Now when we have all of that set up, let's have a look at how the website interacts with the Unreal Engine. As you can see on this custom built website, you can open up a tab on the side and change the character that is displayed. And what's happening here really? The easiest way to see that is by right-clicking any element in the website and selecting Inspect, which is the bottom choice. Like you probably saw that as well, you can press Ctrl-Shift-I to get that up as well. If you have a look at the console here, whenever I press a button, it sends a value, or two values really, one that is called category and one that is called item, whenever I change the character. And you can see that these values are different. And these are sent using JavaScript in a file called pixeldemo.javascript that you can have a look at right here. So it sends, or it calls on a function called onConfigButton that wants to receive a category and an item, which is decided in the HTML file. I'll show you how that works more later. And then it takes the category and the item and uses another function called emitUIInteraction. And this function is what sends the data, or the descriptor in this case, back to Unreal, which we can then use to do whatever really. But in this case, we change the character, the environment, or the skin of the character, or just the time of day. Now let's have a look at how this works in Unreal Engine. The first thing you have to think about is enabling the Pixel Streaming plugin if you haven't already done so. You can do so by going under Settings, finding it under Plugins, and it should be available to you under Graphics and enabling the tick box. Now you will have to restart the engine if you have that enabled. Then you can add something called a Pixel Streamer input component to any kind of actor. In the Pixel Streaming example project, this is done in the controller, which you can find here, or the play controller. Now, to add this, you just have to find the Components tab and press the Add Component. In here, you can just search for Pixel Streamer, and you will find the Pixel Streamer input. In this case, it's renamed to Pixel Streaming input, just to have that in mind. When we have the Pixel Streaming input component added to our actor, we want to be able to receive the descriptor values that we sent earlier from our website. You can either just do so by clicking and dragging the pixel streaming input component from the Components tab, or we can search for it using right-click and searching for pixel streaming. And it should be on the bottom. Both get and set, but in this case we want to get the pixel streaming input. Now from this, we want to bind the onInput event. So what we can do is just drag out of it, search for onInput, and you have the assign onInput event in the top. What you will notice is when you assign this custom event, or the onInput event, it automatically creates a parameter, or a string value parameter, that is called descriptor. Now this is the descriptor value that we receive from the website. When you have your onInput event assigned through your pixel streaming input component, it's also very important to connect this to the begin play event for it to start receiving the descriptor. Now, I just wanted to show you in the pixel streaming example project what is happening here. So in this case, we set a new string value called the descriptor because we will be using this value a lot. And from the pixel streaming input component, you can drag something called getJSON string value, which I use here. In this case, it looks for the descriptor value, which is a string value, looks for a field name called category, which we saw was sent from the website. If that exists in the descriptor value, it goes to change config option, which is a custom event built for this application. Now, it does so again, but in this case, it looks for the string value that the category field name has. And like you saw when I pressed the button before in the website, it had a value from 0 to 3. Now, I will not get into detail how these four functions work, because these are entirely gameplay based and can be created in Unreal. I just want you to understand that you can use just about anything that is connected here. Just for an example, let me create another string value. And in case of consistency, I'll just call it 4 and make the category value 4 also change, let's say, the environment. I will later show you how this is connected in the website. Now that I've changed the value or connected a category value of 4 to changing the environment, I want to show you how easy it is to create your own buttons so you can create or connect your own functionalities to your Unreal Engine project. Now, as I've shown you before, if you press any of these buttons, it changes a category value of 0 and an item value of 1 to 4. If you press the skin button, it changes or it sends a category value of 1 and an item value of 1, 2, or 0, 1, and 2. In our case, we connected a category value of 4, which in this case doesn't exist. I can very easily create a button that changes that or does that function for us. You can edit the website very easily by finding the pixeldemo.html file in your Signaling Web Server folder that we added before. You can edit it using a Notepad program. I tend to use Notepad++. And if you're familiar with HTML coding, you can you can see that these are the buttons right here. Now what do I want to do, just to show it off, is by adding a new button here. We can call this new button. And as you can see, it sends a onConfig button value, which is the category and item values. But in Unreal, we were looking for a category value 4, which we don't already have. So let's say that this new button sends a value or a category value of 4 and an item value of 0, which in this case should change the environment to ruins. Fortress is 1, so let's take that instead. Let's say 1. So now it should change into Fortress whenever I press the new button. If you save this and reload the website, you should now see that there's a new button here with the same icon or the same image as the Kalari one, because we still have that same image here. Now whenever I press all of these old ones, it gives a category value of 0, but because we changed the value here on onConfig button for the new button, if I press that, it should change to the Fortress environment. Now that we've gone through this tutorial, I hope you have a better understanding on how the Pixel Streaming input component works in Unreal and how it receives the descriptor from the website and changes functions in Unreal. In the next tutorial, I will be going through more how to create buttons and sliders to change the environment of your applications. See you then.